Welcome to Escalation. We have been talking about escape characters in our last few videos that include /n and how that can be used along with strings. In this video, we will discuss all escape characters in Python. As the name explains, an escape character in strings is used to tell the interpreter that the character or characters after a backslash is not to be considered as it is. If not, then as what? For us to understand this, we need to go through the list of all escape characters in Python. Collectively, there could be more than 10 escape characters, starting with a single backslash, quotes escape, backslash escape, integer escapes, new line, bell, backspace, tab, carriage return, and a form feed. Just an FYI, some of these are created considering a typewriter's functionality as well. We will go through each of these escape characters starting from a single backslash. Let us say I am trying to create a huge string which I want to split it into multiple lines only in the editor so that I can read them clearly without scrolling. But my interpreter should not print it in multiple lines. This is when I can use a single backslash at the end of each line so that my interpreter will escape the new lines and print it in same line. The quote backslash is very much necessary. That's because the syntax in Python to create a string is by using quotes on either side. What if my string itself has some quotes inside? Like for example, Python's interpretation is fast. We have an apostrophe inside the string and hence Python's syntax to create a string overlaps with this and throws a syntax error. This applies to double quotes as well. If we want to tell the interpreter that it is an apostrophe or it is not overlapping with the syntax, then we can use a single backslash just before the quote and it will consider these quotes within our string as text itself. Another example of text where I want to include a backslash inside my text, for which I can add another backslash just before and it will be considered as a single backslash within our text. We do have hexadecimal and octal numbers within string, which are nothing but ASCII codes. Here, letter Y represents the digits. For example, a hex code for a caret symbol is 5E, and we can use that in our string where we escape it using /hex followed by the code. Similarly, in octal, the code is 136, which we can escape it using just a backslash. However, it is represented as /0 because it is always a 3-digit code. You can always refer to Wikipedia's list of hex and octal codes. Python also supports null character, which is created using /000, and this can be used in between strings. In one of the above examples, we wanted our interpreter to not consider the new line, but what if I want to? That is, when I print this, I want to show the text in new line, unlike in our previous example where the new line was only in the editor but not in the output. In this case, we can use a /n wherever we want to break and add a new line, and our interpreter will store it as a new line and print the same. Did you know there is a bell escape character which makes sound? This was created to make system sounds to alert if there is anything. You could try this with a command prompt by just printing /a as a string. The system does make a bell sound. A /b can be used as a backspace. For example, we do not want to alter the document but also do not want to include full stops in our text. We can replace all full stops with a dot and /b to keep full stops away from printing it. We can use a /t to add a tab, in other words, 4 spaces anywhere in our text. /r, which is called a carriage return, and this was something very helpful in typewriter days I hear. Let us visualize this to understand how it works. Taking an example string, typing is easy to learn from Escalation. And I will add a string coding at the end for demonstration. When we print this string, the cursor starts to print from left to right and prints the entire string. Now let us say I will use the carriage written just before this word coding. When I try to print this, the cursor starts to print from the first character, and when it comes to this escape character, the cursor simply jumps to the beginning of the line and prints rest of the string. Now let me try to add another word at the end, say Python, and use this escape character just before this word. Now when I print this, the cursor starts from the beginning and prints typing is easy to learn from escalation, and when it encounters the first escape character, it jumps to the beginning and overrides the letters to coding, and when it again encounters the second carriage written escape character, it will again jump to the beginning and prints the rest. At the end, we will see the output as Python is easy to learn from escalation. I have been telling that the cursor jumps to the beginning of the line. What happens if we have a new line in our string? Let's try that in our code. As expected, the cursor simply jumps to the beginning of the line and starts to print it again. In this example, it started from left, came across a new line, and printed a new line. And when it came to the carriage written, it simply jumped to the starting of respective line and prints the rest of the character. And the last one is form feed. Again, this was helpful in typewriter days to take control from current page onto the start of the next page. Here, the cursor simply jumps to the next line, but at the same position of the line. However, as these escape characters are obsolete, it depends on the editor on how it will be interpreted. To try this, you can always go to python.org and use the interpreter on their homepage. Let's get to some quick exercises to have hands-on and understand it better. Try to check if these escape characters are case sensitive. Will the functionality of these escape characters change when we are using double and triple quotes? Can I use the bell escape character in between strings and will it still make a bell sound? What happens if I use these characters consecutively like /n, /n, /r and /r again, etc.? Try to find one use case of carriage return. Now that we understood all escape characters, I would request you to try these and comment your findings, questions or doubts below, and I will try to help you with answers to the best of my knowledge. Subscribe to my channel to get notifications on my upcoming videos.